Hi everybody, it's Rosie. So if you've watched my video previously, this is just going to be a part one, a part two, and a part three. So the first one I showed you was just basically my experience and where I was at the moment. So if we really want to break it down in details, let's break it down in details. So this first part is going to be about the choice, making the decision. If you are facing a proctocolectomy with a J pouch, even if it's just a complete colectomy, and you're going to be a permanent, ostomy for your life, making that decision is huge. It is life-changing. The reason why I officially made mine, I started thinking about this decision, I think back in June or July, because I was getting tired. This whole year, like I said in my other video, I was battling in and out of remission constantly, and I've been really good about knowing how to stay in remission. I have a low inflammatory diet. Yes, I eat paleo with the autoimmune protocol, which means I don't touch nightshades. And I'll list down below a list of what nightshades are. I still don't use nightshades because even though I have the proctocolectomy, you still have the disease, so you're going to have problems with your joints and everything. Like I said, I just got really tired, and my GI was trying me on all these medications. I was trying Chinese herbs at the same time. I was going to acupuncture, pushing it up a notch with the supplements that I was already using. So me and my GI, we didn't really see eye to eye. I'd suggest getting one that you kind of do in the future. She was happy when I wanted to do mesalamines. If you're familiar, if you have UC, you're probably familiar with mesalamines. But when I just finally sent her a message, because I'm through Kaiser and we have this app and I can just instantly send her emails, I said, look, I'm getting tired. These aren't working. I want to talk to somebody about surgery. I'm really tired. And I was at a point where I was just like, I'm giving up. That's my personality. I'm just throwing it all to the wind. I have that split moment where I feel like that. She kept, really, do you really want the surgery? Because that means that, you're going to have a scar, and I don't care about the scar, girl. I could care less about the scar. I just don't want to soil myself anymore. I was at a point where I was soiling myself every morning. I had an FMLA, because there were some days I just couldn't be at work. Even the days I could be at work, because I kept running myself down, I shouldn't have been there those days. It was just getting worse after worse after worse, and you can't catch up. When you are in a flare and you're having damage after damage, it feels like, and we should be able to just push the pause button so we can get in remission. But getting remission isn't good enough. You have to stay in remission. The way you have to stay in remission is by healing your gut, and sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't go back that far. Sometimes if you can, I think most of us can, you can't have any other distractions in your life. You can't have a job. You can't do anything. You are going to be super immobile, little bit by little bit, putting food back in your diet, doing a little bit of physical things here and there. You are pushing the reset button. So trying to have a life and having a job and everything, it's kind of impossible. It was for me anyways. So, I kept going back and forth in my mind, because I constantly went on jpouch.org, or there's a Healing Well forum that I was constantly on about getting a J pouch and the surgery, and there were times where I felt really great about it, and then where I was like, but my gastroenterologist let me meet with my surgeon. Even though she didn't want me to, she didn't hesitate. And supposedly this surgeon, his name is Dr. Al-Qurashi, he is the top surgeon for this type of surgery in the nation. I got really lucky. And I was expecting, I met him in August. I was kind of having back and forth conversations while I tried different medications that just made me throw up and have excess diarrhea all at the same time. So when I met with him, I was already expecting him to be like, okay, you're wasting my time. What do you want? And he was going to tell me no. because it wasn't the doctors making the decision about the surgery. It was kind of me wanting to go and take that step towards surgery. So he said, hey, Amy, so, what's the deal? My real name's Amy, by the way. He said, what's the deal? I hear that you're having a struggle with your UC and, so tell me what's going on. So I told him what's going on, flat out. I said, I'm tired. That was the last thing of my whole spiel that I gave him. So I'm exhausted. I told him I'm soiling myself on days that I can't go to work. I'm losing my hair. I can't go to work more and more often. My boss is getting mad at me. This is before I had the FMLA. I said, I'm getting attacked at work, but I don't know what to do. I can't catch a breath. I'm starving myself at this point because I'm on all bone broth with all my supplements. I've got down to probably 100 pounds. I'm tired and I want a chance for life. I want a chance to meet my possible future husband, blah, 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 blah. And so he listened to me and then he said, okay, I'm going to tell you the 3 types of people that qualify for this surgery. And he told me, number 1, there's people that try everything in the book, every kind of medication, until it just doesn't work and they throw the book at them and they're like, okay, we don't know what to do anymore. We got to cut it out. Otherwise you're going to die. He says there's other people that are just, they could keep trying to get to that point, but we probably already know they're going to get to that point. He did tell me though, after the lists he gave me, he said, you are a perfect candidate for this surgery. And if you were my own daughter, I would have already had you on the table. So that already made me feel really good. I felt like he respected me. He listened to me first instead of just going off, and he didn't interrupt me. I basically let him know that I know what I'm talking about as far as I'm informed about the surgery. He didn't have to really explain anything to me. He even said, okay, seems like you're pretty informed on everything. You did your research. I'm informed on the large intestine. I know so much about the colon. It just became my life and my obsession for so long, and trying to heal it and trying to cure it with everything I could. It was amazing how much you end up knowing. He was very respectful, and he did then explain to me, he goes, okay, look, he goes, you're young. He goes, I would much rather, I think that you can do it now. He says, and I told him the reasons why I didn't want to do the biologic medications that I was talking about in my earlier video, the ones that are in their injections, or you go and you get an infusion. I told him the reason why, and he completely understood why I wouldn't want to do those. And he's going to respect the fact that I don't want to. So he said, why don't you go back though and talk to Dr. Ross though and see what other options are other than the one mesalamine she put you on. Let's see if we can do something else, what you're willing to do. And he says, and if you have a problem, I'm here. Shoot me an email, do whatever. If you want to meet back up, then we'll meet back up. Like, he was amazing. He also said, he asked me this. He said, let me ask you something. Was there something extremely stressful that you went through before you got sick, before you originally got sick with ulcerative colitis? And I told him yes, because there was a horrible thing that I went through that basically knocked me on my butt for 2 years. And he went, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, kind of interesting. I don't know if you want to track that in your own life, but my advice at this point, before I kind of go in further, what I'm going to say is, if you're thinking about making this decision, make sure you have a good GI. I didn't have that great of a GI, but make sure you have a good GI, somebody that you trust. But I wouldn't hesitate to take it upon yourself to go talk to a surgeon, whether your GI thinks you are or not, or whether you're going to get the surgery or not, even if it's probably a no. At that point, when I was talking to the surgeon, I was thinking, I was more kind of 50-50 on it. But, for you, I think for whoever is listening, I think you should go on there, even if it is a 50-50, or if you're never going to get the surgery. Just look at what's out there, talk to them, and make sure who you ever talk to is somebody that's very respectful and trustworthy too. Have a conversation. Don't have them tell you how it is. You guys need to have a conversation because this is your life. Something that if you do make that decision, you can never go back from. So that's my suggestion right there. Find a surgeon, meet with him or her, really talk about it. And, you know, hopefully they're the kind of person that lets you ask every question in the book, because you should be asking every question. Secondly, after all that happened, you know, I went back, I tried to get in remission with this medicine that my doctor gave me and made that was making me sick. I even was on acupuncture, was doing acupuncture. It was just heck. It just, again, wasn't working. Went back to him. We set a date. Now, when I decided to go back and talk to him in October, and we set my surgery date for December, I was really gung-ho after reading a lot of stuff off of you know, the Healing Well forums, the jpouch.org, and then also talking to my friend, constantly emailing, well, now that you have the J-Pouch, how often times do you go to the bathroom a day, blah, blah, blah. And I just asked him so many questions. So if you have an outlet like that, ask questions. If I'm one of them, ask questions. When I did meet with him, you know, I was completely ready and gung-ho. I was already pretty much 90% versus when I was 50% before. It's 90% for it now. And he had a full-blown conversation with me. He said, okay, I could put you in next week because I have a spot open, and I started shaking, made my stomach turn because it made me nervous. And he's like, or we could move you into December. I said, let's do December. He didn't hesitate because he knew that I was a candidate. He said I was a great candidate too because I was healthy. A lot of times you hear people saying that you want to try and get healthy before that surgery because it's so hard to recover from. And fast forward, after my first surgery, they took out my colon and it was 2/3 gone. They realized that I wasn't that healthy and they didn't know how I was doing everything that I was able to do at that time. So the healthier you are, the better and easier it's going to be to recover. He did tell me this, and I kind of figured this out with reading some things on cheapouch.org, but he answered these for me. You know, he goes, even though, you know, you could have this now at 30, he says, I'd much rather you have it at 50 because he goes, I'm going to be frank with you. The J-Pouch is going to fail. It's not designed to act as your rectum. It's going to fail. And usually the max life they have is 20 years, and it will fail. Then he says, and so what we can do after that, he says it's very rare. These surgeries are so rare that I only do them once a year. We go back and we take away the J-Pouch that failed, and we create a new one. My assumption in him saying that that's rare is because you either just have to have enough intestines for it, or something with your body has to be a candidate for it. I don't know. He goes, you know, and so then you get a whole new J-Pouch. Or then after that it fails, then you're a permanent ostomate for the rest of your life. You're a permanent bag kit for the rest of your life. And that upset me. That really kind of made me just feel like, well, what direction do I take? Because either way, my life is doom or gloom, I feel like, at this point. So we set the surgery date. I got my bag, my pneumonia prevention bag that they give you with all the wipe down stuff you need to do, and already put the appointments of when I would get calls, yada, yada, yada. I had a lot to think about, and I was still going to push to get in remission because of that. So I left, and I called my mother, and I cried. But then things just got worse. That was October through first week of December that I didn't see him, and things just got worse and worse and worse, and I got sicker and got sicker, and I had my FMLA, and I was just dragging my feet on the ground at work. I couldn't do anything. And so finally what made me make a decision, other than talking to him at my final exam before making the ultimate decision. It was on my mind nonstop. I had to accept the fact that I have a disease. I have a very damaging disease. Crohn's and ulcerative colitis are very damaging diseases. No matter what, if we're the lucky few that you really only have a few flares here and there, or your flares are very lighthearted, and I don't know if saying lighthearted, you can even say that, it's kind of funny, but it's there no matter what, and it's not curable. And it's easy to forget when you have your good days or when you tend to carry remission all the time. I was always chipper gung-ho. I didn't mind I had an autoimmune disease. It was something that I can talk about. But I had to look at it that way. Okay, so this is my life in a circle. I don't have the option to not have this disease. I don't have the choice to get away from it. The only choice or spits of freedom I have are remission, and they are not predictable. The only thing predictable about ulcerative colitis is that they know where it attacks you. It attacks you in your colon. But getting flares here and there, how bad they're going to be, whatever, it's not predictable. And it seems to me, from my personal experience, every time I've had a flare, my remission doesn't last as long, and the next flare is worse and harder to get out of, and it just keeps going. And I could either try and bet on remission and try these drugs, which I personally did not think were a very good idea to try. The other drugs I tried weren't working. I mean, I was using Chinese herbs that stop internal bleeding that weren't working. I was only on bone broth for a long time, so I was starving. That helped things subside a little bit, but it wasn't working. Nothing worked. So I had to accept that. I had to put it on a piece of paper, and I had to look at it. This is my life. I have a body that doesn't work. So I think that's a first step, is, unless you have already, but that's a step, is that you need to accept it, that your body doesn't work the way it's supposed to. So these are the choices that you have scattered among you, because getting a body that works is never going to be one of the choices, ever. So that helped me make that decision. Also, my last night before I called out from work because I was so ill, and then the next day I went in for my rectum exam with my surgeon and talked with him for a while and made my final decision. I was having those thoughts and that acceptance. I was accepting it. That's my fate. And I really, really want to live my life. I haven't lived my life since 2012, early 2012. And then on top of it, before that, I never really lived anyways. I never had this exciting life that I desired. Maybe some of you have. I haven't. I've always played it safe with certain things, and I don't want to do that anymore. I'm just saying right now, I'm in pain right now from my second surgery still, and I can barely walk right now, but I'm very happy because I feel like I have a second shot in life, and I'm not going to take things for granted as much as I did in the past. I'm going to try and live my life. I want to go to Disneyland a little more. Oh, I have 2 days off. I want to go horseback riding or something. You know, there are little things, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be this Walter Mitty going and having the time of his life kind of a thing. I would love that, but I'm going to get to that. I'm going to have fun. This is life, and I only get it once. So I'm going to have to accept my options, which is what I did. So then when I went back in, they're going to want to do a rectal exam on you anyways, by the way, if you are going to have this surgery. They do a rectal exam beforehand to see how strong your muscles are right there. And also, I think to measure something. I'm not sure. And it hurts because I already had active colitis and proctitis going on right down there. So it screwed me up for the week before my surgery. Not that it mattered at that point, but it was like, so they're going to want to do that. So I went in after I made this acceptance of what was going on in my life and that I don't want to do that and I want to live my life. And I went and got the exam from him, and afterwards I sat down and talked to him. He told me he could tell 2 things from the exam, that my that my muscle strength was really strong and I'm not going to have any chance of leakage at all or incontinence. That's good. So we started talking and I told him about my concerns because, like I told you guys, I have done so much research, which I think you guys should too. It doesn't hurt. Follow people on Instagram that have ulcerative colitis or that have a J pouch or that are, you know, permanent ostoments. Follow them and watch their daily lives or read blogs. It helps. I had concerns because there were things that I saw that people that had ulcerative colitis, they got their proctocolectomy with J pouch. Now they have Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease is attacking the only intestines they have left. That's scary. Can that happen? It's a very, very small percentage. That's what my surgeon told me, and looking it up, it is a very small percentage. So small that it's most likely not going to happen to you. I did go to CCFA, Crohn's and Colitis Support Group, back in September on the one day that I thought I was in remission, the one day. And there were 3 people there that have had this surgery, the surgery that I had, and now they all 3 have Crohn's disease as well. But they also were taking biologic drugs. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Our lives and our pathways and everything are different. Everybody's different. So, and then there was that, and that scared me the most, to be honest with you. He did say and he does 99% of the surgeries, of those surgeries for the nation, he said, or for a certain area in the nation. He said that it's very rare if he ever sees that. So it is a low percentage. So that's a gamble you have to take. The other one was pouchitis. So they create that pouch at the bottom of your small intestine, the J pouch, and it can get infected basically. I think you can have backwash from when you're pushing stuff out. I'm not sure, but some people, you get pouchitis, and you have to take an antibiotic for it. And then there's people that just have chronic pouchitis all the time, like it's nonstop all the time. There's some people that are able to manage their chronic pouchitis by taking an antibiotic constantly every day called Cipro, I believe. And then there's some people where it's just so bad that they have to get a pouch reversal and go back to an ostomy. So that was a fear of mine. And he also told me that that's very rare. He also said to me, "Do you drink?" And I was like, "No, I don't drink, by the way." He's like, "Okay, I didn't think so." And he's like, "And you eat really healthy. We all have our own diets. I don't eat sugar. I don't eat any grains at all." And he goes, things like that help keep your pouch healthy. But again, everybody is different, which he's completely right. And then he says, and he's physically hand sews the pouch himself, same stitch on everybody, but everybody's different. So you just don't know until you know, really. But the percentages on that happening to people are very low compared to the percentages of people being able to just have a normal pouch life. And then we talked about, the surgery, that it'll fail after 20 years. And after how far I've come at that point talking to him and all the pain that I've been going through and the exhaustion that I had and the thinking of the job loss, I could totally do a bag. That would be fine. I mean, I don't want to, but that would be better than this. I wouldn't have pain. It would be something I have to get used to. And I was compromising at that point, saying, I'd be willing to have a bag for the rest of my life because I want a life. Bag, life. Bag, life. If you have to gamble the thought and just choose in that you're going to have a life and just have to drag the bag along with you, at least you can have life. Because if you have ulcerative colitis, you never know what's going to happen. You just never know. So that was why I made the decision to get this done. My biggest thing of advice is acceptance. Accept what you have and accept that there is no cure. and then look at your options. Write down pros and cons of where, like, or make a little circle cart of every direction that you can go with this, because it's going to be with you no matter what you do. That's my suggestion. And then also get a GI that you trust and talk to surgeon whether or not you're getting the surgery. Talk to them. It doesn't hurt to talk to them. And make sure it's, if you do and you end up getting the surgery and it's someone you settle on, make sure it's somebody that you trust and that talks to you, because you want to be on the same page so you can trust them. But that is exactly why I ended up deciding to make the surgery. And going into it, I was terrified. I mean, minutes going into the operating room, I was crying. Had my mom pray for me. Like, I was just completely terrified because you can't go back. But what was there to go back to for me at that point? So that's what I want you to think about. If you have any other questions about that, about what else maybe helped me make my decision, feel free to comment below. My next video will be tomorrow night. It's going to be part 2, and it's about going into surgery, preparing for the proctocolectomy J-pouch. This is the first part of the surgery, during the surgery, and recovery after that surgery. So that's what that's going to be out. It's basically life living as an ostomy, life with living with a bag. So if you want me to touch any specific points with that before I start filming that video tomorrow, also leave some questions below or email me. Again, if you have any questions, leave comments below or email me. Well, good luck if any of you are thinking about making this decision, and sit tight for my next video for tomorrow. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.